Good morning, Flosstube. It's Pam, stitching between the lines. It is Thursday morning, February 29th, 2024, and it is very bright and sunny, but I think it's 23 degrees. We've warmed all the way up to 23 degrees, so it's cold. It's a cold day. So Flosstube number 135. I'm checking my book. I wrote it a minute and a half ago, and then I messed around with my camera, which I don't know. I zoomed it way out, which I didn't know I could do. So then zooming it back in, I could only go this far. So I don't know. It's a relatively new iPad, and sometimes it does things that my other one never did. So anyway, let's go. It's not going to be a long one. Baby's sleeping. So hopefully there's no disturbances in the forces there. I have the video camera right here. I didn't used to have a camera. I just had a monitor because it's not a very big house. You could hear her, but if I went out on... Do you hear those weird noises? That's the wind rattling the windows. If I went out on we have an enclosed porch, I felt like I was far enough away and the monitor didn't work. Plus, she pulled a little stunt one day. The crib and the changing table are in a second bedroom, so we've pushed the bed into one corner and the crib in the other corner with the changing table, and I know they have to be a certain distance apart so her little arms can't reach out between the rails. Well, one day she's in there not sleeping, fooling around as she's supposed to be going to sleep, and I went in to check on her, just peek on her because now she's quiet, and her arm is hanging out through the rails, and there's a pile on the floor of all the things she could reach, all the clothes and some burp claws all on the floor. So I thought, oh, you little stinker. So of course we cannot let her get something into the crib that she shouldn't have. The only thing that's at that end of the changing table are burp claws and clothes, but still. So I try to be really vigilant about keeping them apart, but I decided maybe we needed to get a camera. It doesn't go on the internet. There's no app, so there's none of that risk. It just, sends it to the monitor. And I'm looking, she's in there the other day, supposed to be napping, and she fools around a little bit. She rolls this way and that way, and gets herself worked into a corner. Sometimes I have to go in and pull her back out of a corner because while she can get places, she can't always logic out how to get out of them, and she's got herself like too far somewhere. So I looked at the monitor the other day and I see this little pink outfit just waving in the wind. She's reached her hands through again and she's gotten stuff off. So I'm glad I have it, but it's still happening. Such a silly girl. We've tried to rearrange the room and there's really just not anywhere to put anything, and then also have room for a rocking chair. So to me, it makes me laugh because that just shows her little personality coming through. Her Inspector Gadget arms, right? So she's very cute. But anyway, I keep looking over at the monitor where I can see her sound asleep in the crib. So my stitching time has declined significantly in the last few weeks because she's crawling now, and I used to be able to sit on the floor in front of the couch, and she'd be, on the blanket on the floor, rolling around, playing with toys and whatever, and I was just right there. Well, now she crawls right over to me. She wants in my lap. She wants me to hold her up while she bounces. She wants, all the things, right? So there's no more stitching can be anywhere near because she can pull herself up at the coffee table, and which looks like a giant leather ottoman. That's our coffee table. And so nothing's safe up there anymore. So those days are gone. Stitching while she's awake is gone. So anyway, I'm not really sure how much. This is kind of how I anticipated it would be all the way back in January. So what I got done in January while she was up and around was probably a bonus. So February, video number 135. February ends after today, leap day. I've never done or considered a leap day start, or I don't know. I tend not to anymore do much of a start on any special day because if it's a special day, typically I have my kids around, or it's, Thanksgiving, it's Christmas, it's New Year's, it's whatever, those kinds of things. So I just kind of let that ride. So no leap day start for me. So let me just go show you. First of all, I'm going to show you my planner. Look at how big and blank it is. I know there's been nothing noteworthy all the way until yesterday, which we'll talk about in just half a quick minute. So the two things I was working on in February was continuing with Tiny Modernist 12 Christmas carols, which I am in love with. So I've been kind of trying to do one a month. I got started and did a little bit more than that, but now I'm kind of focusing on one a month. So, and I also did the words for like what's coming next. So this month, February, I did the, what does it say? Dashing through the snow with the tree on top of the car. And then I kind of got a start on, So Hurry Down the Chimney Tonight, which, I'll probably work on more today during nap time, assuming it works that way. So I will, if the urge comes on, I'll do more than one a month, but I want to do at least one a month to keep this rolling because I love it. I'd like to work on nothing but you know, keeping it real. I'll probably pick up other things. And then in January, I worked on, as I showed at the end of January, I worked on Kingdom of Books. I'd gotten further than I anticipated because of my ability to watch or stitch while the baby was awake, not just nap time. So instead of putting it aside for the month of February and picking it back up in March, I just kept going. I was, you know, that sort of like, I gotta focus on a finish is a good phrase to define it. Yeah, so this is what's the only thing noted on my book of days is I finished it. I finished Kingdom of Books. It was a pattern from a kit, excuse me, it was a kit, and the designer was Across Stitch Fantasy, and I ordered it from, probably back in 2017, easily, and just admired it for a long time. And I looked up in my records, I am very, very vigilant about using the X Stitch app on my iPad. I put in there when I start things and some details about it, and then when I finish them. So in more recent videos where I referenced the Kingdom of Books, I couldn't tell you when I started it, but according to that app, I started it on March 1st, 2019. And I went back to the video that would have occurred. I'm just going to hold it up, but I don't want to block my face because I know that makes it hard to hear. I went back to my video at that time and I did show that I had started it. So I started it March 1st. And so my determination was to finish it by March 1st, 2024, which was its 5th birthday. And I plugged and plugged and plugged away at this bear. What I had to do for the month of February was primarily the bottom and the words, the back stitching. I think I had the greenhouse done, but I really can't swear it. I'd have to go back and look. No, I did have some houses to do. And it was in the last 2 weeks that I was working on the bottom and the words. So I did translate the titles. I don't apparently have the pattern cover in here. It's laying out on the dining room table. I took a picture of it so I could post it on Instagram. So every time I referenced this before, I talked about using Brenda Handwork Maniacs translations, and just out of, you know, what else am I doing with myself this morning while the baby plays on the floor, I got on Google Translator and I translated all the titles of the books into English. So the houses, the books, represent the houses along one of the canals in the Netherlands. So most of the books have to do with people who maybe subjects and people from the Netherlands. And for example, I'm gonna have to do some turning around. Rembrandt. So this title is Rembrandt van Rijn. And some of them are things like paintings of Vincent van Gogh and the Museum of, I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know how exactly to pronounce it. a city in the Netherlands. No title on that one. This one is the Netherlands, 14 routes and 10 maps. That's the blue one. Purple one is windmills. There were a lot of other words on the original title, but they didn't. I couldn't make them translate in any way that made sense. The history of windmills. It was a challenge. The individual words translated into English didn't go together to make sense. So that is what it is. The green one is King's Day. The brown one is Kingdom of the Netherlands, and that would be apparently volume 18. And then the Garden Gate, there's no titles on those books. I did, instead of French knots when doing the outlining, I put in some beads, which really look nice. This is also Kingdom of the Netherlands, volume 17. This green one is Utrecht Museums. The brown one, this is the only one I didn't translate, and it's the Williams. I didn't translate it because it's the national anthem of the Netherlands, and I just felt like translating it was sort of disingenuous, right? Am I saying that right? I mean, there's things like if you talked about our national anthem and translated it into a different language, I don't know, right? I just wanted to keep it the same. So this one is Amsterdam Canals and Bridges. Netherlands Culture and Traditions. This is a pretty book, this purple one. This other purple one is also very pretty, and this is Varieties of Tulips, Garden Design. The red one is Peter the First, and then this last one is Rotterdam Architecture. So the books have varying levels of outlining on them. Sometimes I wanted to rip my hair out, and sometimes I didn't mind doing it all because there was virtually none. The pattern is in color, so I think anybody who's really stitched a complicated pattern that's in color, there's complexities that make it more difficult. It makes it easier to read the pattern when you're stitching it, but the outlining was hard because you would stare at it. For example, this one had windows outlined. But then all of a sudden something catches your eye. There's outlining in between the side of what would be this dormer and this scroll work. So just 3 stitches on one side and 5 maybe on the other. That kind of thing, all of a sudden, you would notice there was a little bit strip of outlining. Sorry, this is such an awkward piece. A little stitch of outlining maybe down one side of the street lights. It was hard. It made it hard. It made it challenging. It made me hate outlining even more than I can tell you. And then translating all of the titles. I had to translate them and graph them, which in theory was fine. But you see how the book, each segment of the book has shades of the colors, and so that was, one of the tedious details about stitching them. Every single detail is done in shades. So the outlining that made the book titles were also done in shades. So not only did I have to graph it, make sure I fit it, centered it, I had to just, figure out, because some of the words are a lot longer or a lot shorter than they were in the original pattern. All the shading, and some of the letters, the shading is divided. It's 2 different colors. So it was kind of tedious, kind of, is he saying it kindly. But in the end result is quite striking. So what will I do with this? Well, I would like to get it framed. Let me talk about this first. I use the kit. Everything's from the kit fabric, the kit floss. I watch Cross Stitching with Luda, and she does a lot of like dimensions kits, and she says, trust the pattern, do what the pattern says. If they call for 4 plies, 5 plies, 2 plies, 3 plies, then you do that. So I trusted her. If my life reversed for some reason and we went back prior to March 1st, 2019, I would only use 2 plies. The bulkiness of 3 plies, while it looks beautiful like a tapestry, I think most people who stitch with 1 and 2 and 3 understand the potential. I'm hoping that when I wash it, which I will do, which I never do, but I'm going to, it will like kind of level the playing field, if you will. I'm thinking I might take it over to Hobby Lobby to have it framed. The woman who runs the frame department is very knowledgeable, used to own a frame shop. That's my understanding. I don't know. Anyway, she does good work. So I used all the kit flosses, and somebody asked me about the floss. You know, the pattern's not in English, so there's a limited amount that I can understand off of the pattern. First of all, look at how many flosses are left. So they did not cheat you at all on flosses, except, let me just scroll through some of these. When some of the most vivid colors, I was getting worried about. Like probably these are some of my favorite, like the blue that's in a couple of the books. There was only a couple strands left, and I took the strands from the kit and cut them in half when I put them on the drops. There were a couple more colors that were very distinct that I felt like I was getting nervous. Is this going to show up in another book? Am I going to have enough? So at any rate, I put them on floss drops, and there's plenty of them, and I don't think I could determine any difference between these and DMCs. I don't have my DMC floss book with me to look. They're soft, they're yummy, they're 6-ply. The colors seems to be really true and look very familiar. So I don't, like I said, I can't compare it exactly, but I mean, this to me is ecru. I could put some numbers to some of these and say, yes, this is DMC. I did a little color fastness test this morning. So I pulled off some of the reds and blues, which I felt were the most dense colors. And I was doing up some dishes this morning. So there was Dawn dish soap in the sink. I don't have the green. I didn't have the blue one. I have the green one, which is the antibacterial. So I swished some threads around in the semi-warmish dishwater, and then I rinsed them again, semi-warm, and put them on a paper towel. Ooh, make a liar out of me. Can you see it? The first time I looked, when I peeled these all back, first of all, I folded it over. There's no color over here as I blotted, but there's the smallest little, we're gonna get that in there because I saw it on the camera at first. Smallest little streak of red down there. There's nothing under the blue, there's nothing under this blue, and there's nothing under this deep red. So this brightest red, I'm gonna do another test where I keep the water really, really cool and there's no warmth in it, and see if I get that same. Let me look at the paper towel too. Yeah, I was making sure there wasn't a pattern on the paper towel. It's just plain white. So yeah, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see it? It's right there where the little bit of red. So again, I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna keep the water really cool this time, not dishwater warm. And see if, because I really want to wash this. It's been handled and handled and handled. I stitch in hand. I have a tabletop frame whose name I don't remember. It's got scroll rods, and you can stitch it to the scroll rods and then, you know, scroll it. Or my scroll rods are the right thickness that I can use a Q-snap clamp across the top and across the bottom. And then I had my husband cut me dowels the right length, so, because it's that kind, I don't know the name of it, sorry. I've had it for so long. It kind of curves around. It's supposed to be a lap stand, except I don't know how it sits on your lap. It's way the heck down too far for my eyes. I need it close. He cut me a third one so I could put it in the elbow of the bend of the frame, and it sits better. I had it in there to start with, and I was working on it like back in our old house. We had a very long, large family room, and it, you know, there was a grouping of furniture. You could watch TV, but behind the furniture, in a big area, were lots of bookshelves and a couple desks, like where computers are set up. Kids did homework and stuff. So one of the desks was L-shaped, and I had it set up there, and I would just go sit at there and work on it. And that's where I did the middle section for the most part, not the actual park, but the books that make up this middle section, and probably even a little bit of this. And then I just kind of got frustrated by how slow it was, because I can stitch so much faster in hand. So then I just started stitching in hand. The hardest part for me in this situation was all the way down at this end, because I was up into here on both sides. I was doing both sides, the colors. And when I work in hand, I'm backwards. So this was the harder part. And I had done I maybe had started that green book, but I don't think I had done much. I had done this one. And I roll it, and then I hold it in my hand, because I need these fingers on my left hand to help, manipulate the fabric. So it got a little tough. So then I was coming down from the top and I was going up from the bottom to hold it. And then once I got this side done, it was so much faster when I came over here to do the left side, because I had a lot less fabric to hold in my hand. So anyway, long way to talk about how I was stitching this. In hand, a little tiny while on the frame. Frame's not my favorite way to do anything, because I'm just, my very first things I ever learned to stitch was like, I think when I was 8, I got my first little embroidery kit. And yes, that was on a hoop. But even by 8, if not before 8, I was doing, hand sewing things. And so, hand sewing, you're in your hands, hemming something or making doll clothes or whatever the heck we did. So anyway, so that was a major, major, major accomplishment. I plan to kind of take a back seat on starting anything new, I think, in March. So now we've leapt right into plans, I guess. And I'm going to just work on a few of the odds and ends that I have, maybe a week on each thing, or just see what it feels like. I had brought some things I thought I wanted to start, but I'm not sure, because they're not small for the most part. I showed them in my last video, I think. We'll see. So yeah, we'll see what I get into next. But I think it's just going to be progress on, I started a bunch of things at the end of December, and I just might pull them out and work on them a little bit. So there, Kingdom of Books, done just a day or two before its 5th birthday. So that makes me happy. Okay, so what else have I done? I am not like jumping up and down at anything I see at market. I did, however, place a market order with Hobby House Needleworks. Hobby House is like 3 miles from here. I know, right? 3 miles from here, and from this where we spend our winters. About an hour from when we're down on the lake. And they've moved. They used to be more than 3 miles, but they've moved to over by the mall, which is, not far, 3 miles. And built a new building. And if you follow me on Instagram, my husband and I had gone out for supper on a evening, and on our way home we drove down into the parking lot to try to get a sense. Are they open yet? Is it still under construction? On their website they list that address as their address now, but I haven't seen anything about a grand opening or anything like that. So anyway, that will be fun to have their woolworks, their quilt shop, and their needlework shop all in one space, and it looks lovely. They outgrew their cute little place in Pittsford about probably a day after they moved in. So it'll be kind of cool to have them nearby. Not that, again, they were that far, nor do I run to a needlework shop every time I turn around. But, the possibilities of maybe there's different classes there. I don't know if their space includes a classroom. There's 2 different doors you can go in. One goes straight in and the other one goes into the side. They're right there. Makes me think, is there a classroom? Is that a classroom? I don't know. Me speculating, because they haven't said a whole lot on their website. So anyway, there. So I ordered something from them because I could do a pickup, and it would give me a cause to go to the store like I needed one. The only thing I knew I wanted to buy for sure was Plum Street Samplers American Welcome, very much in keeping with the live on little, which I don't think is living on little. Might be living on a little bit of land. But yeah, that house by a lake, not living on little. Or seashore, whatever it is. You're living the large life. But the American welcome is much more like you're on a lake. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about live on little. It's still pretty. I like it. So I still might do it. I don't know. I bought the Vicky Clayton soap, so I'm kind of thinking I'll do it. But I'm not holding my breath. I don't know. We'll see. And I had no intention on putting the words in anyway, so okay, so long way to say, I ordered Plum Street Samplers American Welcome. I ordered Heart and Hands Frosty Tiny Town. I don't care for the other ones that came out. I don't care for all of them. I've just done 2. I've done the Seaside Tiny Town and Patriotic. And now this one I will do. And I happened to order a Stacey Nash design called Calling the Sea. Do you hear that? That's not a good sound. She shouldn't be up yet. Calling the Sea. Because it had some symbols on it that I thought maybe I could incorporate into like Live on Little if I decided I couldn't figure out how to navigate the empty space if I take the words out. And then I ordered the cookbook because, why not? And then I didn't... Let me read this here. I ordered... you have to Color and Cotton comes out with some fabrics, I think every month. I don't know. This is the thing. I don't really know. And I ordered... They had a bunch of blues and sand colors. Well, I love a blue. So I pre-ordered several cuts. I think on Facebook they posted that their sale was going to start these were going to go on sale the next morning. And so when I got the email, I might be on the newsletter, signed up for the newsletter. When I got the email that said, the sale starts this morning, I'm like, okay, I'm in. And I hopped right online, and I think it was during February break, so I didn't have, anybody else I needed to worry about. And, I ordered a bunch, and then it wasn't but a couple hours later I saw people on Facebook posting how disappointed they were that the fabrics were gone already. So I had no idea. Dumb luck, I guess. So that's it. That's all the stuff I purchased. I think the fabric isn't coming for a while. Seeing if it said in my order form. But I know that's how it is when you order stuff that they haven't dyed yet. Oh, and then what have I read? I had talked in my end of January video about finding a new author that I really liked, a book. Meg Mitchell Moore is the author's name, and I grabbed another book at the library called Vacation Land, and it's been returned to the library, so I can't show you. I can show you her name, though. I didn't jot this down like I was going to show anybody anything. Oh, dear. Meg Mitchell Moore. And I just really liked the 2 books I read. They both took place in Maine. Interestingly, they both involved families where there was a daughter whose mother died when they were young. I don't know if that's sort of her thing or not. But anyway, I will read more of her books. And then I also read The Lost Summer of Newport by Beatrice Williams. Beatrice, I don't know. Beatrice ends with a Z, so Williams. That's an author that's been around for a long time. I've read various books by her. And this one, it turns out, was actually written by 3 authors. Beatrice Williams, Lauren Willig, and Karen White. Karen White's another author that I know. So this book took place in 3 different time periods. And I'm going to bet, I didn't read this anywhere, but I'm going to bet each author wrote one of the time periods, just for the feel of the story. There was what was going on in around 1900 in this family mansion in Newport Beach, Rhode Island. And then there was in the 50s, a girl who would have been a granddaughter of the original young women in the first section. And then modern times. And it was an okay story. I only gave it 2 stars, but you know, I dropped that. And then my latest book is The Confession Club by Elizabeth Berg. Now, I would have said that I had read every Elizabeth Berg book up to a point. She comes out with about a book a year. And at one point, I just decided I didn't care for the book. I was sick and tired. It was a book that was like, had to do with World War II. I think people at home, I don't know. And I just decided I was disappointed in the story and unrelatable, and I was sick to death of every author had some version of a World War II book. And then my friend, who she and I talk books all the time, she read the next one and she said, not any better. So I just let her kind of drop off my radar. Then I went to the library last week and I couldn't find anything, couldn't decide. Nothing felt like it was what I wanted to read. And then I hit the Elizabeth Berg section and I'm like, oh, I haven't read her in a long time. This looks kind of good. So it turns out The Confession Club is book 3 in a like series that she calls the Mason series, which is Mason, Indiana, I think. It's not like they reference Chicago a number of times, people having lived in Chicago or whatever. And the premise is pretty good. It's about a group of women who, I think they started out as a book club or something, and then they end up being the Confession Club, where they get together actually every week, and it's somebody's turn to confess something that would be maybe a little embarrassing, or that's always bugged them, or they're, you know, kind of ashamed of, which has ended up, the sections where they do that are interesting and funny and maybe laugh out loud, or you kind of get to know the character a little tiny bit, and then we go right back to what apparently is maybe the main story of this book. Now, I don't know the other Mason series stories, and so maybe these are characters that we got to know before, storylines that we, had I read the first 2 books, would have gotten to know, but I didn't, so I don't. So the storyline in this book, other than, you know, the gathering together for their confessions, is of a homeless man. He's homeless in Chicago, and one day he just walks off and, I don't know, took a bus or whatever, and as far as he got was Mason. And he finds an abandoned house and he kind of moves in, and I feel like I've mentioned this before, when an author is trying to teach me something, like very specifically teach you something, it's not just part of the storyline. Teach us about homelessness and how people get to be homeless and what they do and how they survive and whatever. If that's what I wanted to read about, that's what I would go find a book about. When a book kind of goes off in these like tangents, and it's not that it's not interesting, it's just kind of a little bit like, yeah, right, already, I know. Which maybe, I don't know, maybe it's just, I know those, I don't know. I kind of get annoyed anyway when the book is really trying to teach me something. I can give you other examples of other books, but I'm not. So one of the women in the town gets to know this man, and they kind of start dating. And what I'm afraid is going to happen in the last 75 pages is that there's going to be a very simple solution to his 40 years of homelessness or whatever he's lived. He's had some very, very erratic behavior, PTSD, and I just feel like we're heading towards what could be a very feel-good ending, but I don't know. It maybe isn't going to be that way. So there's another author who came out with a bunch of books a number of years ago, and everything was like, the most simplistic rose-colored glasses ending to a story to some very serious situations. And I just feel like life isn't like that. I get it. If that's what you want to read, have a blast. But it kind of perpetuates the simple solution that if people don't want to be homeless, it's easy not to be. Or, you know, things like that. So anyway, we don't need to belabor that point. What else? What else? That's about it. That's a lot of all that I'm doing. In March, let's see, there's Easter is the last day of March, and Easter break is the first week of April around here. So that's a long way away to talk about plans. A lot could change between then, but I'm itching to work on rural post office at Christmas. And I talked about maybe that would be a piece I worked on maybe in February and then came back to Kingdom and Books in March. But it didn't work that way. And I'm feeling like rural post office at Christmas has got too many like parts and pieces for me to manage to pull out for the little hour, half hour, an hour that I get when there's a nap going on, and then put everything away. This baby's mobile now, and she's quick. When she knows there's somewhere I don't want her to be, she's quick to get there. So I try to just play it real cool, with my cart of cross-stitch goodies and my lamp and all that. But the baby proofing continues. So yeah. So that's all I have done in February was stitch like a fiend on Kingdom of Books, to the point where I was so sick of it. I finished it yesterday morning during nap, and I never picked anything else up. Afternoon nap, evening stitching, none of it. I just couldn't do it. So it's rare that I work on something so intensely to the point of can't turn back. So first thing I'm going to do is pull out some more red thread and take another little test, because I'd like to have Kingdom of Books ready to go to the Hobby Lobby. I thought I would frame it myself, but then, then I stopped laughing, got up off the floor and said, okay, let's think of a realistic way to do this. I'm picking through my threads to pull out some reds. So I look forward to seeing Brenda, this Handwork Maniac, her piece. Because I think, thought she'd be done this year. So as far as I know, that's the only other person I've seen work on it. So there we go. It's a Thursday. We had horrible wind yesterday, and it snowed overnight, and I don't know how warm it's going to get, but the sun is shining, so that's a good thing. So happy Leap Day, everybody.